Hello guys, welcome to yet another wonderful session of learning with Prep Class. My name is Tutor Olalekan Israel, your Prep Class English tutor, and I am super excited to have you join me in today's session of learning. Now in today's session, we will be answering questions from the WAEC English 2018 past question 26 to question 30. Remember, the purpose of this session is to help you prepare for your forthcoming WAEC examination. So, without wasting much time, let's get down to the business of the day. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to this channel, turn on the post notification so you can be notified whenever we upload any new content. Right, let's get to it. Question 26. Now, the instruction reads, after each of the following sentences, a list of possible interpretation is given. After each of the following sentences, a list of possible interpretation is given. Choose the interpretation that is most appropriate for each sentence. Choose the interpretation that is most appropriate for each sentence. Question 26 reads, Kura, you can't be too careful when dealing with Wang. This means that Kura, let me read the question again. Kura, you can't be too careful when dealing with Wang. This means that Kura, A, has no reason to be suspicious of Wang. B, this means that Kura can fully rely on Wang. C, this means that Kura has to be very careful in his relationship with Wang. D, this means that Kura may feel free in the company of Wang. Kura, you can't be too careful when dealing with Wang. What does this mean? Now, when someone is told that they can't be too careful when dealing with someone else, it simply means that they should be very careful, extremely careful. Now, I know you are careful in dealing with Wang, but see, you can't be too careful dealing with him because he is very mischievous. So, you just have to be more careful, be very careful, be extremely careful. So, this sentence simply means that Kura should be cautious in dealing with Wang. You can't be too careful. I know you are actually careful. Yes, that is fine. But see, don't get relaxed because you are careful. You can't be too careful. Always be more careful. Be extremely careful. Be very careful when dealing with Wang. So, the answer to this question is option C. This means that Kura has to be very careful in his relationship with Wang. Okay, moving on to the next question, question 27. Now, remember we had to select the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence. Question 27 reads, don't tell me another cock and bull story. Don't tell me another cock and bull story. This means that the speaker does not want to dash A, be further baffled. B, this means that the speaker does not want to hear the same old story. C, this means that the speaker does not want to hear another drab story. D, this means that the speaker does not want to be further deceived. Don't tell me another cock and bull story. What is the meaning of cock and bull? Because we have to select the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence. So for us to select the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence, we have to know what the cock and bull story is. Now, a cock and bull story is an unbelievable story, a fabricated story. It's like saying a cock was chasing a bull. That's an unbelievable story. It's a fabricated story. So don't tell me another cock and bull story. This means that don't tell me another unbelievable story. I don't want to be further deceived. The answer is option D. Don't tell me another cock and bull story. Don't tell me another fabricated and another unbelievable story. I don't want to be further deceived, please. So, the answer to this question is option D. The speaker does not want to be further deceived. Okay, moving on to the next question, question 28. Remember, we have to select the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence. Question 28 reads, had he confessed much earlier, she would have trusted him. Had he confessed much earlier, she would have trusted him. This means that A, he had confessed earlier on, but he wasn't trusted. B, this means that he had confessed much earlier on and he was trusted. C, this means that he hadn't confessed much earlier on and he was trusted. D, this means that he hadn't confessed earlier on and he wasn't trusted. Had he confessed much earlier, she would have trusted him. What is the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence? Now, this sentence means that he didn't confess early, so she didn't trust him. The use of had in the sentence implies that he didn't confess early. Had he confessed early, that means he didn't confess early. Had he confessed much earlier, it means he didn't confess early. She would have trusted him, that means she didn't trust him because he didn't confess early. If he had confessed earlier, she would have. That means she didn't trust him. She would have trusted him if he had confessed early. So the only reason she can actually trust him was if he had confessed earlier, but he did not confess. Had he confessed much earlier, she would have trusted him. So the answer to this question is option D. He hadn't confessed earlier on and he wasn't trusted. Because the only reason she would have trusted him was if he had confessed earlier. But he didn't confess early, so she didn't trust him. Okay, moving on to the next question, question 29. Remember, we have to select the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence. Now, for question 29, we have a dialogue between Kola and Didier. Kola, you really worked hard to win the case. Didier, you don't know the half of it. This means that A, it wasn't as difficult as Kola has thought. Sorry, that should be had. It wasn't as difficult as Kola had thought. Option B. This means that Kola's statement wasn't actually correct. C. This means that it was even more difficult than Kola could imagine. D. This means that winning the case didn't mean much to Kola. So what does this sentence mean? What is the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence? Now, for somebody to say you don't know the half of it, it is an idiomatic expression which means to know a small part of how bad something is. To know a small part, but without understanding the complete situation, to be uninformed about how bad a situation really is. You don't know the half of it. Yes, you know some parts, but you don't even know everything. You don't know how bad it is. You really don't know how bad it is. You might think that what you have heard is bad, but I can assure you that you don't even know the whole story. You don't know the half of it. So this sentence means that it was even more difficult than Kola could imagine. Kola said that you really worked hard to win the case, but Didier said you don't know the half of it. You don't even know how much I won. It was even more difficult. So the answer, the most appropriate interpretation is option C. It was even more difficult than Kola could imagine. Kola actually saw some workings. He saw how much it took Didier to win the case. But Didier is telling him that you don't even know half of it. The one you know is fine, but man, if you know deep, if you know how hard I worked to win this case, that means he didn't even know half of it. The case was even more difficult to win, but Kola did not know. So the answer is option C. It was even more difficult than Kola could imagine. Moving on to the next question, question 30. Remember, we had to select the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence. Question 30 reads, Femi is too clever by half. This means that Femi A displays his cleverness in an annoying way. B. This means that Femi is not as clever as he thinks. C. This means that Femi pleases anyone he meets. D. This means that Femi hides how clever he really is. So what is the most appropriate interpretation for this sentence? Femi is too clever by half. Okay, so to say someone is too clever by half, to be too clever by half is an idiomatic expression that means to be too confident of your own intelligence. To be too confident of your own intelligence in a way that annoys other people. You are too confident of your own intelligence and you do it and you show it in a way that annoys other people. So to be too clever by half means to display his cleverness in an annoying way. Femi is too clever by half. It means that Femi displays his cleverness in an annoying way. He annoys others with the way he displays his cleverness. Okay, and with that, we've come to the end of this wonderful session. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. If you enjoyed this video, click on the like button. Do not forget to drop your questions in the comment section. Share this content with your friends and loved ones. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.